All right, shall we begin? Roll call. Everyone's here except Eric. His excused absence. He's not feeling well. Ask for the approval of the agenda. A couple items to change. Under the reports, Friends is not Arlene, it's John Pillman. Food table is Eric Rock. Any other changes to the agenda?
Is that Ronnie?
Who was it? That was Dave. I thought it was you.
I did too. That's what I use all the time.
So on the senior employment, Dave and I think we're going to still work kind of team up on that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So you might want to put
Dave's name.
John and Dave.
Okay.
And then my question to you, Dave, is did you want, I know we talked a little bit about on board advocacy, did you want to put me as a secondary to help you out with that as well? Or just you want to take that on solo?
I think a backup would be good. Secondary would be good.
Okay. Is that okay, John?
You'll be the advocate's advocate. You're going to be the advocate's advocate.
Advocate? Advocate?
The answer is yes. That's great.
Yeah, advocate.
Thank you. Sure.
Something
like that. Change it.
Advocate on advocate.
Yes.
Yes.
Anything else on the agenda to correct, change? Lonnie, you had something?
No, I can't bring it up fast enough, so I'm not gonna waste time.
All right. So, have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second? Thank you. Martin seconds. Let's see. Approval of the previous. Any public that'd like to be heard? We have some new guests today. Wonderful. Thank you all. Approval of last month's minutes. Any changes to that? Ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second? Marta seconds. Approved. And since we have Angela Brill here from the Art in Public Places, are you ready?
I am. Okay. If you see my dirty laundry, if it starts popping up, I apologize about that. But I think I'm all set to go.
Well, let's move right to that. Please.
All right.
Go ahead, Angela.
Well, thank you again so very much for inviting me here. My name is Angela Brill. I am the Art and Public Places Administrator for the City of Longmont. Just a quick little bit about me. I've been with the city now for 6.5 years. Before that, I worked for Denver Botanic Gardens, managing their exhibitions, specifically their outdoor installations. So a couple little names, Deborah Butterfield, Dale Chihuly, the Calder Foundation. I worked with all of those to install work. So I have quite a prowess in getting my hands dirty, especially with large installations, but as well as working in indoor galleries. I worked for Denver Art Museum, Architecture, Design, and Graphics when the Libeskind building was built, which tells my age because that was a couple decades ago. So, yeah, I've been working in the art, specifically fine art field for a long time. And I'm just very, very blessed to be here in Longmont working with this program. So I manage the entire collection, and I think it's really important to look at, this is about a 20-minute presentation, so just so you all know. I'm going to start with a little bit of the history and purpose of public art, because I think to understand where we are, it's really helpful to know where we've been and where things come from. So just generally speaking, this is my presentation agenda, so we're going to look at the history of public art briefly, where the funding comes from, the guiding principles that is within Envision Longmont, and then what is public art, and then we'll dive right into art in public places, specifically our annual programs, community outreach and education, and then our current and upcoming projects. I'll make sure to leave time for a Q&A, but should you have a question specifically pertaining to something that we're talking about, by all means, feel free to interrupt me. So without further ado, I think that it's important to just be mindful that 3,000 years ago, Mayans were etching drawings and writings onto various surfaces, demonstrating and depicting social life. 2,000 years ago in Pompeii, public art was regarded as a social interaction rather than a vandal nuisance. specifically consisting of inscriptions and artistic markings for marginal groups. Murals over 1,500 years ago were ornamented in the military dynasties within China. 482 years ago, specifically, Michelangelo was completing the Last Judgment in Sistine Chapel, which was a commissioned piece. And an important date in 1872, just 150 years ago, ish, the Art Association for Public Art was established in America as the first private, nonprofit civic organization dedicated to creating museum without walls. It was formed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and it integrates arts to be accessible for the public. And so I point out, in March of 1959, Philadelphia pioneered the Percent for the Arts program. And this is Robert Indiana's Love. So if you don't know this piece and have never visited it, it's just a testament to how successful public art can be in recognizing a time and a space in a place, but that also exists our past and then grabs our present. So here in Longmont, in 1987, we had a number of constituents get together and develop the beginnings of a public art program, and they leveraged that 1% for the Arts model. We were not the first in Colorado to do so. Our neighbors to the north, Loveland, were the first to do it, but there are a number of percentage art programs around Colorado, but not all public art programs are percentage for the arts. We are. And what that means is that it was codified in 1993. You voted and decided this is something that you would like to do. And what you are doing is taking a 1% from a CIP program, asterisk, most, not all, there are always exceptions, but most CIP projects that have a construction line of $50,000 or more, 1% is siphoned into a special fund. And that fund specifically covers the public art program. And then everything within it. We have 0 general fund dollars, so my salary, all our operations, pens, pencils, maintenance of artwork, the new acquisition of artwork, and all of our funding for community outreach and education comes from that 1%. We are also advised by the Art and Public Places Commission, which is at present a 12-person advisory board. In code was at 15, but just this last month, we are going through an attrition process down to 9 over 6 years. And this is brick sculpture by Ken Williams. It is on the corner, I'll say, or intersection of 6th and Main, which you have probably seen it before. It's important to note that we are specifically called out in Envision Longmont, which is the planning documents for the city, in 3 specific places. I can send this to you, but I'm not going to read it to you. It's important to know that the livable centers, corridors, and neighborhoods were ingrained within that, as well as the opportunities for all. I think that's a really important one. And then economic vitality through innovation and collaboration. We are ingrained and woven into all 3 of those pieces of our planning documents. So what is public art? Public art tells a story, both now and then. It's in public space, and it tends to be intended for everyone. Does everyone love everything? No. But it's intended for everyone because you run into it. Unlike going into a museum or opting into seeing something, typically public art is an interaction that you have as you're moving throughout space. It's created for the general public through a public process. Residents and community have the opportunity to directly impact their surroundings and your built environment through public art. It can express community ethos, generate a sense of community pride, enhance our environment and lived experience, transform or activate our landscape, heighten our awareness, question our assumptions, and capture the creative snapshot of a community narrative in time. I think that is all true, especially of this program. So our program is a very community-centric program. Unlike some, we are extremely community-centric, which takes time, more time than most. We enhance public space through our projects and placemaking, I say placekeeping initiatives. in the promotion of creative culture. We have nearly 180 pieces total in the collection, and that includes presently 83 of our shock art murals, which are on electric boxes around town. We foster creative community partnerships, and we do have some dynamic programs. And here are just a very few examples of some of the work, most of which that I've, with the exception of Spirit, that I've worked on in my tenure here. So our program, we have some annual programs, 3 specifically. The first is our Art on the Move program, which is our Art on Loan. So we put out a call to artists to lend us their work. Typically, it's been sculpture. I think we're starting to dabble and move into the 2-dimensional realm, so we'll be able to have bare walls that will have loaned pieces up for some amount of time. And then after that loan period is over, we return them to the artist. Of course, because we are an economic vitality and we are championing artists, we pay them for the lending of their work. And it is upon occasion that the Art and Public Places Commission hears feedback or likes something, understands under their mission of diversifying the collection, that there's something that is uniquely a great opportunity, makes sense financially to purchase and put into a place. So these are some of the things that you have seen in the past and may continue to see into the future as they become part of our collection. That is the exception, not the rule, but it does happen. Our second program annually is Shock Art. Arguably, I would say the most well-known. The Art and Public Places is most well-known for this program. Each year, we put a call out to artists to create scaled models for the electrical boxes, and then the community votes and chooses the winning design. We're partnering with LPC. LPC has a very specific transformer boxes that we are allowed to paint. We receive the question all the time. I have one in my yard, and I absolutely want to paint it, and I have this great idea. And the truth is that when one of these things has some sort of malfunction, our folks at LPC know exactly where they're going and exactly what they need to do to get your service back up and running. Unlike the ugly little green boxes that are in your yard, it's a little bit of a needle in the haystack. And they know what they're supposed to be looking for, but it might not be intuitive exactly where that point is. And so if it's painted, there's a more likely chance that they're going to miss it rather than get to it and get your service back up and running. So it's a little bit of, it's a good and bad thing, right? They're large, you get to see them from afar. There is that competition piece, so the community gets to decide. But I would say that the reason that this is really successful, and we're actually one of the only communities that continues to hand paint our boxes, it is an entry and development opportunity for young mural artists in a way that where other communities are saving dollars by putting them into vinyl wraps and then just submitting a digital image. These give young artists an opportunity to work within scale, and we give them a healthy stipend so they can make mistakes. And then they can come back because we pay for their time and their materials. So it's a very generous program, but also when we talk about developing our creative community and giving them opportunities, this is one of those ways that we do it most successfully. So I'm really proud of this. And again, 83, there's our selections from 2 years ago, but 83 boxes throughout our entire city. And people ask if we're running out. No. Are some getting a little aged? Yep. And they need to maybe get a facelift. But I think that, unfortunately, the southern part of town is where we've had a bit of saturation, but we really try every year to put a new one in, I would say, a quadrant, if you will, of town.
Do you have a map of where they are?
Good question. So we are working with our GIS folks to actually get that into the city system and then have something that we can trifold out. We do have a trifold, but because we're adding 7 to 10 every year, it's a challenge to keep that up. So yes and no, but good question.
How do you select the artists?
So we don't. We put out just a call for artists, and artists have to create a specific scaled size model. They deliver them to us with an application, and then as long as they are 18 or older, or someone on their artist team is 18 or older, because we go under contract with them and we pay them, that's why, then they can go on display. and then that vote happens. So we have ballots that our Arden Public Places Commission, bless their hearts, go through and calculate. We look for duplicates, and we have a methodology for making sure that the ballot is like a legitimate, everybody gets to vote once kind of thing. So in this program specifically, we don't choose the artist. The community decides on the design. The artists do need to come through a training with myself and LPC, telling them the do's and don'ts. There are a certain amount of materials that they are not allowed to use, specifically aerosol, which for some mural artists, that's a bummer. But still, nonetheless, it's a great opportunity for folks to take that idea that's in their brain of a healthy, successful design and then translate it from small to large. Yeah, good question. And then our most recent program is the History Under Wraps, vintage photographs from the museum archive. One of the things when I was hired, they asked me to do is really find that ingrained moment between Art and Public Places is under the museum, but we are out and everywhere. So how is it that we can make sure that we're pointing to our cultural center? Longmont Museum is the largest museum in Boulder County, if you didn't know that, and it's getting even bigger, if you can believe that. So it's important for us to make sure that we're pointing to our cultural center and all of the great work that they do. And part of that is they are the archive for the Times Call photographs, as well as having thousands and tens of thousands and thousands of historic photographs and images throughout time. And so we have been taking and very specifically selecting images that have a nice long landscape cut, if you will, that the image then can transform into kind of a three-dimensional aspect. So there's something visually interesting on all sides. The great part about these is that they're ending up at traffic signals. So while you're waiting there, there's something to see no matter where you're sitting. But then in addition, we are adding a tour onto them, and we have virtual tours. So if you wanted to learn more about this piece, you could go virtually online and learn, or you could go to the museum and you could go to the archives and you can see the originals. It's pretty fantastic. So this is one of my favorites because I didn't grab the date, but it was late 1800s, and the horse, of course, says Longmont against the world. So I'm just saying, Detroit. Okay, you got it, but we had it first, so there it is. And so our virtual tours are available, of course, through our website and the Longmont Museum website. We do co-collaborate on that. So there are a number of downtown tours, Latino history, and women tours, but then there are also the public art tours. Right now we have the Quail Campus, we have downtown, then we have the History Under Wraps, which you can access either through the QR code that's on the piece or through the website. And then our Art on the Move, the loaned pieces, we also do a tour of that, which is just highlighting all of those artists that are on display. So those are our annual programs. We also do a whole bunch of community outreach and education. Typically, they end up being community paints. We have had a number of murals that we have asked the community to come out and assist us, but we also have started to do some paint by number opportunities. The reason is because most people, when they come to engage with Art in Public Places, the first thing they'll say is, but I'm not an artist, but I can't do that. And so we make sure that the materials that we have are accessible for any person, that the environment for somebody to engage is welcoming and open so folks can engage. And so one of the things when we first started this paint by number kind of community mural, they're temporary, they're on panels, but we went to Countryside, which is just to the south of the museum, and Susie Hidalgo Faring got her students, there are a lot of them in that neighborhood, and they just did not know that teachers worked outside of school, even if she's on council. And so they showed up, but then they also got to paint, and they got to have snacks, and they got to see that their teacher doesn't live in the classroom. So these are great opportunities to get all people out. And then sometimes we have one of our board members who came from a community paint that got excited and said, I want more, I want to participate on a different level. So that's one of the ways that we organically get people who are genuinely excited about participating and activating Art in Public Places into our program. So some current and recent project, I had to be selective, so forgive me, but I'm gonna start with the icky and not the fun one, maintenance. You purchase things and you have to take care of them. And because we're a 40-year-old program, we have a whole lot of maintenance. So sometimes you see, oh, well, one year we did 3 big projects and one year we didn't do very much. This year is kind of a brick sculpture is missing a couple bricks. So Ken Williams, glad that he is alive and well and practicing down in southern Colorado, is going to be casting some new bricks and then coming and fixing our brick sculpture. So it's a lot of the stuff that hopefully you don't see, but we are watching very carefully each of these pieces to make sure that we're taking care of them properly and having them last throughout time. Because when we do commission new works, that's one of the biggest things we're looking for is what is the longevity? What is the maintenance schedule for something like this? Are we going to be able to take care of it over time? Or are we investing just enough money knowing that this piece only has so long? An example is Collier Park. Years and years ago, a tree was coming down and the city arborist said, hey, this is a great opportunity. And so a fantastic chainsaw woodworker art person, I can't remember his name, but he created a large buffalo head. And well, of course, it was in Collier Park for so long until the bugs decided to make a home of it. And so my predecessor, of course, had to exterminate all of the living things that were within it, chop it off, and now it lives over in Isaac Walton Clubhouse at present. So not as visibly and seen and publicly, but for the time, it made sense to do that tree, but knowing that it had a lifespan that we were only going to be able to take care of it for so long. On the right, this is my new, I stuck this in because I just got this picture. That's my newest problem child. I think somebody took a paintball gun and shot at it, so I gotta go over there and lick it and see what it's made out of and just and scrub it and just see what that actually is. So maintenance is a huge part of what we do. I put this in just because it's going to impact you specifically. You likely know about all of the changes that are happening over here at the Senior Center in Roosevelt. And a part of that, the planner said, hey, Angela, can we help work with your landscaping? Yes, please. Because that piece actually is on some shims and needs some love of remediation anyway. So we're going to go stomp all over the dead grass anyway. The reason it's dead is because I said, hey, your sprinkler's hitting our bronze, and that is not good for us. So that area of lawn has been dead because it's not getting water. And I was very thankful, but you're probably not. So we're going to put in some more water-wise plants around the piece. There is going to be tube watering, and they'll have to get a little bit more water for establishing. The landscape architect was really wise in saying that we wanted to make sure that there were something that was visually interesting, evergreen, if you will, but also had some nice blooms. And then Ronnie and I took a look at it as well, thinking about line of sight. I'm more concerned about, making sure you're able to see the sculpture in the round. Ronnie's, of course, got his head into all aspects of this building and you approaching the building. And so I really appreciated, Harold would call it the center of excellence, right? That we have people from the different departments that are putting their input in to make sure that we're getting all the pieces. But then, of course, we had a task force from Art and Public Places, because that's their job, to see about these plants and then to go forward with that. So you'll be seeing this coming soon, this spring, early summer. The Listening Stone, which is, I think, arguably one of our most beloved pieces of artwork, is a parabola, near Rogers Grove. And it doesn't work because the river moved. So when the river moved, the Listening Stone doesn't hear the river. So, of course, Resilient St. Vrain Project is coming about on that western side, just east of Hover. And so I'm working with the planning department. There's 2 ways of going about it. We may move it downstream a bit and get it to where it needs to be to hear the river, or we may store it, do infrastructure, and then put it back in. So it's still a little bit of a sticky wicket, but again, working with our partners, Details of Nature, which is on the bottom right, which is further to the east of the Listening Stone along that pathway, those pieces were scheduled to be taken out and put back in. And I said, geez, it doesn't look like the construction that you're doing is very necessary for us to actually take do you think you can get your machinery like work around it? And they are. So by working together and having great collaborations, that's how we can save dollars, and I think that we do it really well within the city. And then the Longmont Museum, Hidden Paths Unseen Trails by Kathy Bradford, is an etched glass piece that is going to be recited and put back into the museum. I had the honor of taking this piece out. I had never seen etched glass like that before. It's really, really, really special. So some current projects that we're doing. I'm working with the sustainability department. They recently have done some excellent work on climate mapping and showing some of the extreme heat corridors that we have within the city, and there are a number of them. And not everyone is going to jump in and say, ooh, citizen science, it's so fun. It's not fun. And so instead we're going to find ways to educate people about our extreme heat and the resources we have within the city through public art. So this is going to be a bus shelter. This is a very early rendering, but has been through risk, so we're definitely on our way. And we're going to hopefully be putting it near 3rd and Martin, because there's just a lot of different kinds of communities that live in and around that area that use that line, and it is hot and there is no shade there. So people will see this as they're driving by. They'll say, oh my gosh, what is that? They'll learn about the art, and they'll learn about resources that they can get through our sustainability office. So yeah.
So do the colors on that bus stop correspond to heat map colors?
You know, that's a good question.
Or is it just...
The artist presented 2 different proposals, and the other one was an ombre and cooler colors. But this was the one that was chosen, I think, specifically because, well, you can't really tell here, but it's got a little bit of there's like a turn, right? It's not directly.
It's a helix.
It's a helix kind of. Yes. So no one said that specifically, but I sure see it myself. Yeah. That's a great thing about art, right? Is the artist, I'm sure, has intention. When I look at it, it means something different to me. But by going through a QR code, by seeing the artist label, and then of course by visiting the public art and having an entrance into the city and some of our services through a different way, that's how we're being successful with this one. So I'm really proud of this one. But I've never done a piece like this before, so that also gets me really excited because we're gonna have challenges. It's like challenges. We have a parking deck structure that is going to be just to the north of Safety and Justice, then the hotel just across the street from the Civic Center. And so there's nearly 5,000 square feet of ugly concrete. And so the call for artists is out right now. That's a national call, so we'll probably get a pretty big name in here. But it's got a lot of long and skinny areas, so whomever is chosen is going to have an understanding of composition, taking care of rectangular places maybe for some sort of composition that, say, figurative or whatnot. But then those long, skinny areas are going to have to be complementary directly to the other. So I'll be interested to see what comes out of this. If you'd like, I can send you along the dates where the selection panel will deliver a short list. So they'll go through the applications, come up with a short list. They'll discuss the short list, get it down to an even shorter list of 3. Those artists, we pay a stipend, and they come back with proposals. We have a proposal, and then an artist is chosen, and then we go under contract and commission that artist. It sounds complicated. It's not. It's really fun.
Where is that call being? Is that in one of the national indexes for calls for
It
artists?
is, yeah. So I utilize a couple of different call for entry portals that are specific for public art and museum professionals, and it's kind of the go-to for artists who are working within the realm. It's called Cafe Call for Entry, but it's marketed, of course, everywhere. We don't use the procurement portal BidNet that the city does because that's the wrong constituency for us, and it could work. It doesn't work for us. And then, of course, the museum. So I don't know if you've been to Quail Campus and you look at the rec center and you look at the museum, and personally I'm like, the only differentiating thing here is that one has a water slide and that one doesn't. So they both have turrets and they were the same architect, and bless their hearts, it looks very cohesive, but you don't know that that's a museum. And so we do receive 1% from even the donations that were given to the city for this project. And so from that 1%, Art in Public Places is going to be putting a sculpture on the southwest corner. So when you are at the, if you're at Main and Quail, you're not going to see a water slide. You're going to see a big old sculpture. And that is going to say, hey, I could be a rec center. Could be. So that call for entry will be going out actually quite soon. And with that, I have questions. You have questions? I could have added so much more. I clearly like what I do, so I could just talk all day.
Have you had any thoughts about what's going on? We have a Golden Jubilee coming up this year here. Is that on anybody's radar at this point? Do you know?
Within Art in Public Places, we are part of the 150-250 constituency. So there's a group of 15. I'm looking at Ryan like he's 15 or 20 folks who are discussing that, and that was certainly a part of it. Is how is that, because we're already doing work related to 150-250. What other anniversaries? So that was a piece of it. But I can't speak to any project specifically. I do know that last night at council, I wasn't there, that Art in Public Places is going to be engaged on a flag conversation. But that happened like last night, and I did this yesterday. So I'm
12 hours ago, yeah.
Yeah, right? So, gosh, I'm just not on it. So I wasn't there, but I know that that'll be coming our way as well. We do have some large maintenance projects. Again, not fun to talk about, but we got some big old maintenance projects. Yeah.
I live at Village on Main, and right outside our front door, before you hit the parking lot, used to be a structure. It was like a, what am I thinking? The word. It was a full structure that you could sit inside. Okay, kind of a pavilion.
Okay.
It was taken down because of various reasons, and the idea that's been tossed around for probably 2 years, 3 years, is having Art in Public Places do some sort of sculpture or something to fill that area. I was wondering if that's anything you've heard anything about.
Have not, but I did now, so I'll look into it.
I think Sarah Arney kind of has an idea of what's going on with that, but
Okay.
it was talked about during the reconstruction, and just, I'm sure it got lost because there were so many other things that took priority. But yeah, we were kind of getting to the point now where it's like, okay, everything's settled down, everything's finished. But wait, we still have this slab out there.
Oh, there's a slab there?
Yeah.
I'll investigate.
And
take
it's
a look
funny
at it.
because people, every once in a while, you'll get somebody who thinks they can park there.
Oh,
Because it has a ramp for handicap.
Yeah,
So
okay.
they think they can just pull their car up there, and it's like, no, that's not what that's for.
Is that not supposed to do?
What? You can't just roll your vehicle up anywhere? You know, I should say, Art in Public Places has far more projects come to our table than we are able to accommodate. We have our friends over in sustainability who worked on a solar project, and we were trying to figure out a way to help a fence line. And so I'd never done a project like that, so I reached out to some of my other communities who had, and were extremely unsuccessful. I don't like setting ourselves up front not to be successful. There's a number of projects. They all come to us. And the way that that's handled is there's an executive team of Art in Public Places that sits down regularly, particularly after budget cycle has gone through and we get into the fall time. So we know what our budget's going to be looking like, and is blessed by all the powers that be. And so then they take a look at what projects make sense or feasible that we can accomplish successfully, maintain also, and then they get it down to the projects that ends up in my workflow for the year. So it's possible that it's not that it fell off a list, it's just in the literal and figured parking lot of projects. Parking lot projects.
I just
There are a
thought
number
I'd
of them.
mention it while I
Yeah.
was here.
Please do. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'll ask an obligatory question.
Please.
What would you do if you had $100,000 more?
What would I do?
What would Art in Public Places do if you had $100,000 more tomorrow?
I couldn't even say, because I think that if they had the capacity right now with the fund balance to do a $100,000 more project, they just come to council and ask for it because there's $100,000 in the bank. Because the fund is different than, and so the fund is different. We don't work out of general funds, and because of 2013, there was an influx of funds that came into public art because of necessity, because y'all had to fix a bunch of stuff, right? And so Art and Public Places kind of won on that one. I don't know what they would do. There's a lot of options, and I don't really like speaking on their behalf.
No problem. Just curious.
No. I do think that they are ambitious. So we often...
You're saying it's a creative bunch.
They do come to the table with, all right, let's do all of this and this, that, and the other thing. And I think, especially even last year, we ignored some of the maintenance things. It's no fun. It's no fun. And I think that probably, in fact, that probably would be where it would go, is to fix some of the things that
Maintaining and updating the art that we have.
There's some ants in Left Hand that need a facelift. Sandstone Ranch is going to be going underway, and it looks like some kids threw baseballs up there, so there's some indentation there that's probably getting moisture in. That's what I would do.
Not fun, but necessary.
Not fun, but necessary. Yeah, I think that's what I would do. Yeah. Any other questions?
How do you know what to maintain with all these projects around? Is somebody driving around saying, "Here's a problem"?
Good question.
How do you do it?
Yeah. So, Art and Public Places Commissioner's number one job is the adopt an art piece, and I have a form that asks very simple questions of, hey, go visit it. You have to go and visit it at least seasonally, because that's when changes happen, is when the weather changes. And it asks some simple questions. Do you see water standing? Is there a difference from one place on the sculpture or artwork to something else? And then you take a picture and you upload it to me. And then I ask, like, of a red, yellow, green light, how serious is it that Angela comes and takes a look at it? And I get those emailed to me every time somebody does it. And so that's the first question I go to is this an immediate situation? And when it is, then I go out there and take a gander. And then, of course, it just goes through a kind of a prioritization of, is this damage going to affect it over time? When is it going to, how long is it going to take to delaminate, to change? Well, we maintain our bronze, right? Like we wax our bronze every year. I go spit shine some, paintball stuff, and it's fine. But I'll take a look at it while I'm out there. But yeah, it's a big part of what I do, is maintain the collection, manage the collection. Good question, yeah.
I hesitate to ask this
It's
because
all right.
it's kind of off the wall, but do you have any art? Let me phrase it this way. Do different age groups respond differently to art? What I'm getting at is, do you have any art that's directed towards older citizens? For example, is there something on Main Street that you put in that's a feel-good piece of art for people that are over 75 or something?
Sure.
That's maybe just a thought to think about.
Sure. I think the piece that you have up front is
Yes.
lovely. Was clearly
like
very intentional. The piece that's next, the bronze that's next to the library, that's figurative. Let's face it. When we're talking about, and it's any age person, when you see something figurative and you see some sort of reflection of humanness in it, it's easier to identify, I think, rather than something that is abstract graphic or something like that. So as for figurative pieces, we have a piece that is out at Sunset that is a large eagle that I think likely an older group of people respond more to that. And it was placed because there's a golf course, there's the pool. We have a piece in Golden Ponds that's a frog. He's hilarious. That it's an easy path to navigate, and so I think he would, while he was tucked back, I think he's very intentionally in a place where everyone can get to him. But there's also the golden gentleman who's fishing with his grandson piece that is out there. but art in public places really is intended for everyone. And so while, yeah, I mean,
It's just a thought.
no, it's great. I think it's a very appropriate thought. But, yeah, figurative bronze, we have a number of pieces of them, but we diversify the collection. So we have a piece that we need to place that's from a Longmont artist. I think that resonates with some of our residents that have been here longer, more than maybe youth. But I don't know, aren't rooted. So I don't know how I'm doing on time, but any other questions? Okay. Well, I will make sure that Ronnie has a bunch of my business cards, and if you ever have questions, let me know. Yeah.
The stove at Lone Peak,
Mm-hmm.
went in an apartment from that stove that was made for the boys that were shot back in 1980.
Yes.
That one that has the picture of both.
Yep.
Have that kept updated. I mean,
Yes.
refurbished, or whatever, done something is kind of very dull.
Yes.
Neglected.
So the Unity project, which is at Kensington Park, what is the road there? Anyway, it's on the north side of Kensington Park, was created in the late 80s with a Longmont artist named Mario Echevarria. And Mario and I have worked very closely making sure that that piece is preserved in the best way that it can. Its construction is a cinder and rebar, and then it's covered in a stucco, and then there's the mosaic on top of it. But what's more important is the community that came together to create those mosaic pieces. And it's an older piece. And so, yeah, it's one that we care for quite carefully, I would say, because of its construction. Recently, 2 years ago, it also had turf around it, and the mowers kept bumping into it and cracking it. And so the park solution, bless our hearts, was to put a concrete bumper around it. But then we did that center of excellence and started looking at, hey, who can we collaborate with? And we actually worked with our Water Smart people and tore the turf out and put a Water Smart garden in. So now, not only does it look much better, but there's no damage that's innately happening just because of park maintenance. So, yeah, but I would say as for pieces with that narrative of community, arguably the most important piece, Angela, opinion, arguably the most important piece in the collection. Good question. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, you should. All right, I'm going to give Ronnie my card. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Under new business, invitation to City Council meeting February 10th. The expectation is the resolution that we submitted to the board council back in October is coming up for discussion before the council. We know that for sure, or is this expected at this point?
Right now, February 10th is the target city council meeting for this. It's under review right now, so it's in process. Once I get a green light that it has officially made the agenda, I'll send a communication out to the advisory board for awareness.
And that's the resolution asking the Northern Arapaho elders to be recognized as residents of Longmont. So we approved it in September, went back to the city attorney in October, so it's coming up for review. Safety and security, Ronnie?
Safety and security. Yeah, just wanted to provide some updates on where we're at with our 2026 budget. In 25, sought advisory board recommendations for interior cameras. We are in a replacement cycle to replace some of our exterior cameras, and with an addition to one more exterior camera that faces the park. It's a three-way camera, faces the parking lot. It'll face the loop over here on the south side of the building, and then towards the main door over here on the west side of the building. And it'll be placed outside. Exterior camera will be placed outside of room G. On the corner. So if you're coming from the parking lot towards the front of our, to the front main entrance, not the side entrance, from the main entrance, there will be a camera placed over there in that direction. So sought feedback from the recommendations from the advisory board to have a discussion around interior cameras. Took that recommendation to our team, and now we're kind of looking at those options as well. The board recommended some cameras in common spaces, hallways, hallways, lobby, and facing the entrances as well. And so moved that to our team, and also looking at quotes with our tech department, ETS, to see how much cameras would cost, right? Not just the camera, plus installation, plus wiring, and any ongoing maintenance as well. So just wanted to provide information there. And, with what's going on right now in our community, in our world, we've had some questions from our participants, around safety. And, what is our response in the event of, ICE comes in our community, into our facility. And, I think it's just important for our board, and my message to our participants is that the city periodically reviews policy and procedures to comply with state and federal laws. And in that process, try to find that balance of community safety and support for everybody within our community. And so, I think it is okay to say that is under review right now. And I know there are ongoing discussions of what that looks like. So, but as for us here at the senior center, what does that mean? Just as we do anybody with our, anybody entering our facility. We have our standards of behavior that we enforce that complies with city policy, but also specific to the senior center. We have some policies that are different from, say, the rec center or the Memorial Building across the way, right? We are serving a target population, 55 or greater. So, if anybody comes into our facility, our questions are, are you 55 or greater? Are you enrolled in our programs? If you're enrolled in our programs, then, you have access to our amenities, because of course, it's not all of our programs are by registration. We have drop-in programs, right? But if you're not registered at the senior center and still want to participate in our drop-in programs, let's get you registered in our system. And so, we vet everybody in our front entrance anyway. Are you 55 or greater? And I think, it's important for us to continue enforcing those policies in any event, right? With any person walking into our facility. So, that's the measures we go enforcing policies here at the senior center. Any questions on that?
I've had discussions. So that I'm sure everybody knows about things that are transpiring in Minneapolis and elsewhere in the country. It's very disturbing. That's led to questions and conversations that I've had. I'm sure you've had conversations as well about what do we do, not at the senior level, at the senior center level, but also at the city level, at the state level, etc. So let's take an example there, Ryan. So let's say that's great if somebody walks in and they're maybe they're by themselves and they're acting somewhat normally, and but what happens if a dozen armed ICE agents roll up to the front door here with assault rifles and riot gear? And history has shown us that having a who are you? It's not working. It's broken, right? So I've had conversations with Matthew about this as well. We need to, I recognize the fact that the senior center is really under the operating level of the city, right? We're an arm of the city, right? So I'm leaning a lot on Matthew. Matthew will probably say a few words here, and I know you're working on some things at the city level, because there's this term, right? Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. They're building a detention center they're not building it. They're applying to be able to repurpose a prison in Hudson, Colorado. There are people that are lobbying against that, but my gut tells me it will happen. There are things, it works here. We're a blue state, right? We haven't released Tina Peters. Regardless of where you sit on the political spectrum, there are things that are gonna happen here, and it's probably not very good. So, I just wanna make sure that we're thinking about this. And with that, maybe I can turn it over to Matthew, because you had sent me an email, said that there were some things that happened last night that might let you provide a little bit more clarity. And then my thought is we had also discussed about maybe more clarity at a future meeting, and you can share more about what's being done at the city level. Before I turn it over to you too, though, I do want to say there are things being done at the state level, right? So I have one example here of a bill that's going around at the state level. And this bill basically creates a statutory cause of action for a person who was injured during a civil immigration enforcement action by another person who was that violated the Constitution, regardless of whether this person could be an ICE or could be a federal agent. So there are things we're trying to do at a state level as well to give the citizens of Longmont more recourse in the event that they get injured or accosted or kidnapped or whatever you want to call it.
What bill number is that?
That is bill number 26-005. Okay?
And where is that bill right now?
This is a bill that's it's a Senate bill. It's introduced in the Senate. I don't know the current status of this bill, other than it's a bill being circulated and it's probably being marked up and all that good stuff.
John, what was the number again?
26-005. My understanding is there are two other bills. I had a brief exchange with Karen McCormick. So I think there are two other bills that are also being drafted as we speak to try to give, one of the bills I think gives local law enforcement the ability to, this is tricky, but if a federal agent is violating the law, it gives local law enforcement the ability to confront that federal agent and say, hey, you're violating state law. I can see where that could go south really quick, but that is one of the bills that's being looked at. So anyway, with that, I'll turn it over to Matthew.
No, thank you, John, for bringing this up and for reaching out and asking. In general, just for anyone who's paying attention or for anyone on the board, thank you for the concern, and please reach out. I think one of the first things that we can all do is make sure we're informed about what the city's policies are, what the state policies are, and what kind of those processes are. This is a very active conversation for understandable reasons among City Council, City leadership, and our Department of Public Safety, and all of the lawyers that are involved in this conversation because of some of the very legal implications from any action or policy related matters here. The first thing I want to let everyone know is, and maybe this is to John's point of kind of what a future discussion on this board could entail, I would encourage everyone to make sure that you're up to date with what the city's immigration policies are. If you search Longmont immigration policies, you can find a clear website with all of kind of the protocol and policies that we have. So I'd start there, and if you'd prefer in Spanish, si prefiere español, hay opciones en español también. So there are options in English and Spanish for understanding what our policies are. Another thing that I wanted to make sure people are aware of, that if you want to verify or clarify if Longmont Public Safety has an active operation, sometimes those are unmarked or not flagged for obvious reasons. They're not advertised that there's inherently a criminal enforcement action happening. You can call, residents can call dispatch on our non-emergency number, which is 303-651-8501, or you can call 911 if it's more of an emergency situation and you want to know that. Just to understand, is this a Longmont Public Safety active operation or another agency? We can't confirm if there's we can only confirm if it is our operation or not. But that can at least shed some light on what might be happening if you're unsure what might be happening in your neighborhood. City Council did vote in December, this is somewhat related and increasingly related. City Council did vote in December to not share data with other law enforcement departments and agencies with our flock camera system. If you have questions about flock, I'm not going to get into that right now, but more than happy to sidebar or discuss offline what that entails. But we're kind of currently controlling the data that we do share or that does get shared accidentally to other departments. There have been some issues with that, and that was one of the kind of reasons we took a more preventative approach there. Ultimately, our focus is on following the law and keeping our residents safe. And I think, John, you're getting to the point of where like there could be some conflict or tension there, and that is an active conversation that we're trying to have. But those are our priorities at this moment. So maybe I'll leave it there for now. But if you have more questions, either feel free to ask now, and I'll see what I can get into. Reach out via email if you want, or perhaps there's a more specific discussion that should happen with regard to specific facilities and preparations at a future meeting when we can make sure that we have the right staff in the room to have that conversation productively.
And I think that's a good segue in circling it, bringing it back full circle is, that fine balance of following state and federal policy along with our participant and guest safety as well, right? And so, being able to navigate those types of situations have to operate within state law and policy, right? So, that's why I was sharing. What do we do in these events of anybody who is posing a threat in any situation, in any environment, right? That's why we vet everybody at the front door. And if we do feel that that threat is a threat or a growing concern, of course, then at that point we are calling 911. So what I'm sharing is, what do we do in these events where we feel safety is a concern? We're calling 911, but again, our policy. We are vetting who's coming through our facility. Public space, it is a public building, that's that fine balance as well, right? Public building, but private spaces in the sense of we pay for some of our classes to participate. This classroom, if we register for this program, it's private space. So being able to navigate any of these types of situations within boundaries, right? And so what could it look like? We don't know, right? But I know what I am able to do and how I'm able to operate in the event of safety as a whole. And so, and thank you for sharing, right? Is ongoing discussion. It is just, it's one of those things that, it's just one, I don't even finish that. It's just one of those things that's really hard to navigate, and we won't know how to respond until we have to respond, but we do know what we can operate within, and I think that's really important for our participants to be aware of, that we are very, very clear on our city policies, our facility policies, and those will be enforced in any situation in which safety is a concern.
John, can I just add two more things on that? One, I really do want to stress that if you are trying to verify or understand if Longmont Public Safety has an operation ongoing, that you do reach out and call before making assumptions. We have had some situations where there have been interference in, people made assumptions and interfered with an ongoing operation that was not immigration related, or it was criminal related, which is a situation we do cooperate on. And so I do want to make clear, please reach out or ask if you're not comfortable reaching out to law enforcement directly. Reach out to your city council members, and we can get that answer for you on your behalf if that is helpful. So please take those precautions too, so that it's a challenging tension for sure, and I just encourage people to reach out, ask, and use us. We are your representative for a reason. Yeah. We can be your ambassador to a conversation you're not comfortable having personally, if that is appreciated, and we can kind of be that direct liaison where necessary too.
The other thing I want to say, I had a discussion with Marta, several discussions. There are things that are currently taking place, right? So I put it under the umbrella of Know Your Rights. And I asked Martha if she could speak a little bit to inform us about some of the things that I know her and others have been working on.
Yeah, we've got material that we've been passing around. I brought some, and we got a letter. I'm part of the Access to Justice to the DA's office. Mm-hmm. So he emails me stuff that's going under Portland County. I brought a letter, and she'll have a copy each of you. Amy's also part of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have a big mandate to pass out these Know Your Rights materials, and we actually offered this to City Council last night. We think that the city should make a, program of having these cards available in all of the city's public buildings. The Know Your Rights cards, the wallet cards, and these black and white door cards that people can take to their doors.
Spanish and in English.
It's in Spanish and English. And we think just getting this out is one step in the right direction in creating some policy around this. We passed out a lot of these ourselves, tens of thousands of them. But I think that one thing that, a couple things I'm thinking about, because Marta and I deal with this all the time, and I'm also a Colorado Rapid Response Network confirmer. And Matthew, what you just said about that, I've been called into a couple of events that look like they might have been undercover police events. And I'm gonna pass this information on to our whole network.
Yep.
That they should, because that would help us a lot instead of sitting there wondering.
Yep.
And we do a lot of sitting and wondering.
And we would much rather have you clarify and verify.
Exactly, so that's really good advice.
Yep.
But I had a couple questions just in the presentation, like what are you gonna do with the camera data that you're gonna collect? Because as Matthew mentioned, the city of Longmont did decide not to upload that information beyond the city of Longmont in the clock system. And I wonder how that's gonna tie in with the cameras that are gonna be used here.
We don't operate individually by facility. City manages all cameras.
So that will go under their
So
policy.
That's all for,
That-
yeah,
that's-
and
that's
to be
for
clear, many of the
everything.
cameras we have are not flock related, and those are just internal, that's just our internal
Just
data.
wondering what the purpose of the cameras were when you said that and how
Oh, that's all, it's
the
public
data
safety,
will be
it's
used.
public safety
Okay.
purposes for cameras and helps us.
But you understand why I asked that
Oh,
question?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as like people coming in the building, if ICE came in the building, is there a possibility for somebody here to say, do you have a warrant to be in this building? Is that in the public safety policy?
I'll take this one for now. In that, I'll get back to you on that. We have
Thank you.
multiple conversations on legal going on right now about how we handle different situations.
Great. I look forward to having
But I will tell you,
further
my response
conversation.
right now, if it happened this second, right, is our policy is, okay, well, let me get PD on the phone to verify and support you and help you where they need to. And also, hey, let's get city attorney down here as well, be a part of that same conversation. And so that is that response right now. And that is what we would do. That is the two phone calls I would make if they walked in and said, hey, I have a warrant for anybody, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, and we're just gonna keep talking about it, because that's what we do. I know we all have to this is like an ongoing conversation, and you make a good point. We don't know exactly what we're gonna do till we're in the midst, but I think and it sounds like there's a lot of thoughtful conversations going on in the city on public safety.
The chairs are right there.
Oh.
Did you see
I'm
that?
relieved.
Thank you.
Thank you all, Matthew.
Additional cards are, we're bombarded with that.
We have
plenty.
lots of cards.
Yes, and we're giving it to the people also, to give to friends, relatives, or whatever, so they can know and understand and have an idea.
Right.
And what we say when we give these away is we say, you may not need this, but you may know somebody who would like to have this. So we recommend everybody just saying those words and handing them out.
Is
There's a number that they can call.
The rapid
We have
response,
some,
the Colorado Rapid Response number, which is through an organization called CIRC, which is Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition. That's the number on these cards. It goes to the Rapid Response Network. And
To the red card.
the point of the Rapid Response Network is to be able to verify if there is ICE activity going on, essentially. So we show up, we are supposed to keep a low profile and just let people know what's going on, so we know if there's ICE in our community or not.
Amy, have you used the 303 number that Matthew gave us, 651-8501?
No, but that's to their public safety office, I think. But this
That's our
one,
non-emergency line.
this is if you do see actual ICE. I mean, if you can see it,
In the red card, so.
yeah, then you would want to report that.
And just to be clear on what the city's policy is here, and this is listed on the website that I referenced before, the City of Longmont Public Safety will cooperate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement with the identification and arrests of people who are considered a danger to the community.
That's right.
So just wanted to make sure, like,
And that's in this from the
Yeah.
DA's office too, so that's a countywide policy as well. It says that Fulton County local law enforcement officers, which would include everybody here, our public safety officers,
yes.
will not ask questions about one's immigration status if it is learned, will not report it to ICE, but the DA's office and the sheriff's department and all law enforcement officers are required to work with ICE if there's a warrant or
A criminal warrant.
a criminal
Yes.
warrant,
Yeah.
a judicial warrant
That's what we want.
specifically.
Yep.
You played, you paid it, tell you.
She's right.
Thank you all.
I
Thank you, thank you for
do
your-
want to wrap that up with just again, as manager of our facility and our participants, safety is a huge priority and concern for me, right? And I just want to be able to provide that support and security as much as possible, sense of security as much as possible within city policy and within city policy. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Future presentations, that's something we discussed at the last meeting. The last meeting you said you wanted to have someone from Art Public Spaces, got that. So what would you like to see come up at other meetings? Who else would you like to see speak to us?
Did we have a list? Didn't we
I
have a?
don't, a couple of things, city communications came up as somebody in contact, but that's all I recall. So I want to put it out to
Usually have Harold in May.
March.
March?
March, I thought.
May. March.
I think it's March.
I thought so too, because May is when we-
Remember, we joked about it being M's,
Yeah.
both
That's right.
things being MA.
and then our presentations in May, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So any other groups you'd like to hear from or see?
Just a thought I had, we've got a number of boards and commissions that might be nice to understand more about what their charter is, what they do, and how that might affect our senior community. Historic preservation is an example. We could look at there's an airport advisory board. Maybe we should have a representative from the airport advisory board, because I know that there are concerns, right, whether it's environmental concerns about the airport, it might be that seniors are exposed to as much as anyone else. I happen to know somebody on the board, if we want to take that route, but there's a variety of other boards and committees that maybe we should think about inviting to talk to us.
Well, we could submit a request to Ron, just give us some thought.
Yeah.
Get to what you want for the March, Harold in March, but other meetings,
As it goes throughout the year.
put it out ahead of us. Matthew, I know you represent us to the city council. Does it make sense? We see other council members coming to the food table once a month. Would it be useful for other city council members to come here and speak about? They represent other boards and groups, you think?
Oh, that's a great question. We have, to be clear, we have council members who are liaisons to most of the boards and commissions that we have, both in the city and regionally. So beyond the city of Longmont, and then we have kind of staff who are assigned or manage those boards as well. So I think there are multiple approaches. I guess my answer to that would depend on what this board is looking for, and what you're most interested in. Most likely, the staff member who oversees kind of that department or that topic area would probably be the best suited to do that. If you wanted a quick update, that's kind of partly why what the role I see myself in here, with a few exceptions on specific topics that I could easily go deep on. But I would say it really depends on what the board is interested in.
So, I don't know if this is the right time and place, but obviously there was a city council meeting last night. There was one, I couldn't attend it, but I know that when I looked at the agenda, there was one that's near and dear to your heart. I didn't know if you could share a little bit about how that went.
Sure. I presume you're referring to the zoning issue or the topic. So last night at a city council meeting, at the city council study session, there was kind of a continued discussion of a concept that was proposed in actually the last city council last year, on kind of reimagining what the First and Main transit station area and the Sugar Mill area could look like in the future, and particularly what kind of zoning or code policies would support the types of development that we might be interested in seeing. this is a pretty meaty topic, and so I can give a quick summary, but I do want to just check, like, how much time do we have, and like what level of depth is appreciated at this moment.
Just touch on it for just a few minutes, and we'll come back to it, I think.
Yeah. So we heard about Envision Longmont in the Arts and Public Places presentation. Envision Longmont is our comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan for a city basically is the guiding document of kind of what gets built where, what types of uses are allowed in certain areas, and what are the goals really that we're trying to achieve at the integration of multiple systems: land use, overall planning and development, transportation, environmental stewardship, resilience, economic prosperity for people. And so, like, that's what Envision Longmont as a comprehensive plan tries to grapple with. And if you're wondering, well, there's a lot of things within each of those topics. There are. It is quite a sizable document. If you are looking for a 170-page fun read, I highly encourage you to take a look. If you want the SparkNotes version, I'm also happy to give you that. Basically, we have different zones throughout the city of what types of uses, what's allowed to be built where. So in my neighborhood is zoned residential, I think, single family or residential mixed neighborhood, which allows for certain types of housing to be built. There's everything from kind of different residential uses to different types of commercial uses and industrial types. Yeah, and mixed. And a mix of commercial and residential as well, or commercial, light industrial, and residential. And some zones that are public space or parks and kind of more natural areas. So we're trying to balance kind of how our community grows and develops. Envision Longmont is that framework. Zoning is the rules for that, and the code is basically the law for how we kind of manage that and the standards that are set for each of those zones. Those are the different layers there. Last night, specifically, we were discussing the creation of a new zone, mixed use, innovation, and redevelopment, that was specifically intended to look at that First and Main transit station, so south lower downtown, kind of between the Greenway and, say, like 2nd Avenue, and then the Sugar Mill area. Recognizing that part of the Sugar Mill area is actually not in the city of Longmont currently, including the very structure itself that is currently county property, not city. Private ownership, but county jurisdiction. And so thinking ahead, we're starting to think ahead. So last night's discussion was actually entirely proactive. There was no project that was coming forward asking for a certain standard or update or something. It was entirely proactive from city council and staff to say, how do we start to shape what we would want to see there? As you can imagine, that starts to get subjective very quickly. The starting point of that discussion built on kind of two main things, or the starting points were focused on two main things. One, what type of height for building height are we comfortable with in those areas? That came out of a motion from former council member Aaron Rodriguez last year. And then what types of policies and code requirements can we use to like streamline redevelopment and make it more attractive to the private sector to actually focus growth there, partly in response to a lot of concerns that council has heard from residents about kind of larger apartments being built kind of in their neighborhood or kind of pushing towards the outer parts of town. So as you can imagine, we have about 300 acres of land from basically the Sugar Mill area all the way to South Pratt, where First and Main is, where those flour mill silos are. That's not an insignificant amount of land, and if we actually prioritize that correctly, we can achieve a few things, including kind of managing that growth. So we're really focusing it where we have existing infrastructure. That achieves a few things. It makes it more walkable. It also increases foot traffic for local businesses, and it focuses our kind of housing where we have current or future transit, or current and future greenways and trails. A major piece of this, for instance, that whole Kaufman Street redevelopment that this group talked about, we got a presentation on, I think it was part of the Vision Zero discussion last year. Kaufman Street is going to, that whole kind of revamp is going to continue south and connect to the Greenway once that the rest of some of the First and Main development kind of comes to fruition in the next 1 to 3 years. So that's going to be integrated in that too. So we're creating more walkable corridors, more bikeable corridors, more multimodal, so you can drive too. It's not exclusive. But the goal is to think about how do all of these systems interact, and then how do we try to attract the right types of development that makes sense for Longmont in those areas. So that was the core focus. The initial proposals last night were focused on discussing kind of building height, allowances in those two areas. And then the other piece was kind of the code streamlining, or kind of incentives that we could put in for specific purposes or goals. For instance, we currently have in our code, the current law is that you can build up to 4 stories in certain zones that allow for that. And then you can get certain bonuses for density or height if you are building within a quarter mile of a transit station. If you are building affordable housing, and one other bonus that I'm blanking on right now. But so you have goal-oriented bonuses where we're trying to incentivize that. Why is that an incentive? Because the more units you can build, the more profitable development can be, or the more likely you can pencil out a larger structure with more construction, more investment, more financing, and more risk. So you're creating more opportunities there. Some of the discussion last night focused on what are the goals we really do want to see in those areas, and how do we start to maybe, there's been a lot of discussion on for sale housing, for instance. How do we use some of those kinds of bonuses to try to encourage those types of development? There were no decisions fully made last night on policy. No new policy was adopted. This was a study session that was really intended to to continue an initial conversation from last summer, and clarify directions so that our staff could continue to kind of think of it this way. Last night was, hey, we have a few ingredients. We just got back from the grocery store to try to make a cake. And we got a few ingredients. We want to make sure you really want to make this cake. And so what flavors do you want? What types of ingredients do you want to put in? And then it's not, okay, and what shape do you want this cake to be in? Now we're going to continue to finesse those ingredients, start to mix that together, and see kind of how that's going to ultimately shape into a various set of policies. Before we even put it in the oven, it will go through another round of city council input, and then an extensive public process if this is going to be created, because a new zone is a legislative decision, and applying a new zone to certain areas is a quasi-judicial decision. And if you don't know what those distinctions mean, come to a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting one day, and I'll gladly tell you. Basically, both of those require multiple public input processes, multiple ways of engaging the community. If you were around during the Envision Longmont creation days back in 2015, 2016, I think that was, predates me here. But if you were involved during those discussions, it won't be necessarily the same extent of engagement, but this is going to involve a significant amount of public input and process to get that feedback, to understand what people would, how people think about kind of growth in these areas, and how people think about growth throughout the rest of the city. Because what we do in one area does have ramifications for others, both positive and negative. Part of the goal of this whole effort is to kind of focus that development to try to manage the growth. Keep in mind, and then I'll pass it back to the chair, because I could go on for 3 hours on this conversation.
We did that.
We did last night. Keep in mind that, we still are trying to meet housing demand. And the fewer units you have from basic economics is supply and demand. The fewer units you have, the higher the price. And so that's tricky, because you're constantly trying to manage where the market is and where is it going to go, and what are the needs of your community. You might say, hey, I think we have enough housing now. And that could be great, but in 3 years, that might mean all of the rental prices have just suddenly gone up because there's more demand, because we have the really big problem of being a desirable place to live. And so that is the tension we're also wrestling with. And the less we grow in a certain compact area within our community, the more you're going to see sprawl around Longmont that we can't control, right? If you drive on 52 now, you see new neighborhoods that are popping up. There's not much transit access there. People have to basically get in their cars, and that's not even close to where the 119 bike highway is going to be. So that you're creating you're basically requiring people to have cars, which means there's more traffic, and it's going to take us longer to get places, and there's more air pollution. So there's the systemic level of considerations and consequences when we're thinking about this too. And that all comes back to roost when we think about how do we want to grow and what are we trying to really solve for. So that was the conversation that was started / slightly partially continued last night. Fairly robust, 2.5 hour discussion that we had, I think, last night. It's recorded if you're interested. I'm also more than happy to sit down with anyone who does want to get into the details on this. I find it really interesting, and I think really thinking about how different places grow, I think, is one of the most interesting questions of kind of a modern city in this time of age. So appreciate you asking. That's kind of where things are, and Yeah, that was kind of on the fly there. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't preparing to give you a podcast on that tonight.
Thank you for the abbreviated version.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
But that's what goes on city council. Each one has their own head, their own
Yeah.
thinking, their, I agree, disagree, well, no, this way or that way, but that come together. But it makes sense when they're all talking, trying to agree or disagree in the faces that we see.
And that's a great point. There was not unanimous discussion last night. There was a lot of thoughtful conversation about like what are we comfortable with in different places and how do we want to think about that. So I did my best there to give you a more objective description of what was discussed last night. If you want my personal opinion, happy to share that another time.
Well, it's amazing how much you all navigate on city council and the various things you have to keep track of. It's pretty impressive.
It's fun.
Thank you for that.
It's fascinating. Never a dull moment.
That's why we go, because say, okay, we voted to put you in there. Let's see what you do.
Please do.
And we have a great staff that backs them up. I will really say they're integral to these conversations because they give great presentations.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's a great point, Amy. Like that was in the same way that Ronnie brings material and presentation and
Exactly.
information and budget stuff to this board. We get that on steroids at City Council, where we have renderings of what could this look like in these situations. What are we comfortable with there? What are the implications? This was really a phase one discussion. If we get, based on the direction that was given last night, we'll be moving into kind of a deeper kind of build out of what would this policy framework look like for these types of areas.
Thank you.
It gets to the point that it's time, they have to vote to keep on going, even though you're saying we're on, whatever, whatnot, but.
Yeah. To extend the meeting past 11 p.m., we have to vote.
Well, let's move along. Any other input on future presentations? Harold and March would request his presence for that. Anything else? Give us some thought, right, Timmy? Let me know what you think. When you start thinking in terms of what our presentation to the board will be in May, the council in May, I'll get something out to Ronnie, to everybody for that. Give you some thoughts. Lonnie? I'll get you down for outreach planning. I don't know what you want to do there, and then
We'll
do it at the
table
end of the
that
week.
to our committee meeting.
Yeah, okay,
We don't
good.
really need to bring up anything.
Great, thank you.
Perfect.
Ronnie, you're up.
All right. I have a short report today, this month. Just annual data, finished compiling everything, working on that, putting the final touches on the annual report for the advisory board. I'm going to schedule John. He's finding out right now. We're going to find some time that we're going to get together and kind of work at to really clearly identify what the advisory board accomplishments were, so we could add that into the report. So if you have recommendations, things you would like to see on that report, send that to me. We'll say within the next week, by next Wednesday. I almost said Tuesday. By next Wednesday, and then I'll look at scheduling with John after that. So that feedback you provide, those recommendations, we can look at pulling the data to really highlight those accomplishments as well from the board. So working on that, a lot of good stuff. As we could all imagine, increases everywhere, participation and enrollments, door count, visits in our facility, enrollments, trip registrations, you name it. We're seeing those increases everywhere. So again, once we have those final touches, then you'll have that full report to see all of those details. Staffing update, again, we have 2 vacant positions, our therapeutic recreation coordinator position and our office assistant position. Great solid applicants in both of those spaces. We are working with recreation to schedule interviews for the therapeutic recreation position. Again, it's a shared position, 50% senior services, 50% recreation. And as for the office assistant position, I continue to assess the applicants as those applications come through, and really excited about the pool that we have. So I'm going to look at setting up interviews actually today. I'm going to make some phone calls to look at setting up interviews as early as next week. So hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll have those positions filled and to be able to make an announcement. Not in the door, but filled, right? Identified our candidates. Fun stuff. Chairs replacements. We were looking at replacing the chairs in all of our classrooms.
I was looking at John.
The chair. I know. John did ask us, like, what do you have planned for me? Are you trying to get rid of me?
You missed a meeting, all of a sudden you're out.
Physical chairs in our classroom. So we are in the process of looking at options for chair replacements. These are dated. They're ready to go. We've had a lot of issues. They're hard to maintain, hard to clean, and I have 2 chairs outside the classroom now that I'll bring in for you to try. Our team has had a chance to take a look at it. We hear from all of our participants of what those needs are, what we want it to look like: comfort, flexibility, arms, legs, you name it. And so we have a couple options that we narrowed it down. I would like to have you all sit in it before we leave for the day to get your feedback and thoughts. And actually, maybe we could do that before, so that way we can the board can make a recommendation between the 2 chairs. Yes.
The chairs that we currently have,
I'm sorry?
The chairs we currently have,
Mhm.
if and when they're replaced, is there a organization that's already wants those chairs? Do we sell those chairs? What do we do with those chairs?
So we have a process. Do you want to speak to that process, Bianca? All right, I can do my best. Want me to do my best?
Sure.
Okay. Well,
Do your best
you
or your worst.
can correct me in some of these spaces. So I asked for Bianca because she helps organize all of this. City process is any time that we are replacing equipment, as long as it's not damaged, it's still usable, it's not junk, it's not trash. It goes out to all city organizations, I should say, the city of Longmont organization as a whole, different departments. And if there's other departments that would say, oh yeah, we're actually in need of 100 chairs, then it's up for grabs. So first one to respond gets to take that, in this case, these chairs back to their facility or their department for use. And from there, city process. Once we put it out there and say there is no takers for any reason, then it goes to Plan B. Bianca, I'll let you speak to that one, just so I don't misspeak.
So there is a collaboration with one of the auctions in Colorado, and we'd essentially
Speak up.
sorry, we'd give it to them. We'd give it to an auction, but they'd have to. Someone within city staff would go about and see if it's worth sending to auction, and then if not, then we can either opt to donate it at the same time, put it in the trash if there's really no
If it's
damaged.
If it's damaged.
Yeah.
So those 3
The reason I ask is
processes.
I'm on the board of another 501c3 that's in need of chairs. So if they were to become available, I'd like to know, because I'd like to,
If it makes it to that spot,
if
absolutely.
it makes it to that.
Absolutely. And so would love the board's feedback for recommendations, so we can get that on record as well, so I don't forget my own record, right? But we have the chairs over there. And so I'll start off by saying the 2 that we have do not have the arms on it. Arms would be added to it, and the legs would be standing legs like the chairs that we do have. The reason why they are the way they are is they are customizable. If we wanted to get the chairs with the arms and the legs to look like this versus the U shape on the bottom, it would be a 4 to 6 week delay, because then they have to manufacture the chairs for us to sample. So we were looking more so for the back, the comforts, the flexibility, with the knowledge of we will have arms and the legs will look like these ones right here for a few reasons. For us to store, it's easier to stack, and they're easier to stack. And the U-shaped one, the chairs over there, they just move a little easier. When we have legs like this, the chair stays in put. So if I needed to push off, it wouldn't slide. So know that the arms would be with whatever we decide to purchase and move forward with. So we'll get you on those when we get a chance here in a second.
Thank you for the computer chairs, by the way.
Yes.
When you talk about putting in auction, the VFW, the American Legion, and the Moose need to share. So the 2 of them, I mean, they need to replace those chairs.
Right.
those
So
would be
city
great.
auction. So it just would go back to the city. Absolutely. So yeah.
Think about it.
Elder Exchange updates. Just wanted to share with everybody, still work with the Northern Arapahoe leadership to coordinate a meeting, discuss a 2026 exchange. I know the interest is still there. Just very, very busy right now, and I'm hoping to get something on their calendar here soon. We had a couple meetings planned, but again, they're very, very busy. And so those who know Lee and Sherry, their senior services manager at the reservation, had a couple meetings scheduled with them, but their schedules continue to shift because what they have on their own plates right now. So still working to coordinate that meeting, and once I have an update for the board, I'll gladly share out that we were moving forward. But again, the interest is definitely still there. We just need to iron out those details. With that, so this good segue, Friends budget for 2026 has been approved. The Friends have approved funds for the Elder Exchange specifically to allow us to continue to provide that opportunity for our senior participants for those cultural enrichment opportunities. Friends budget for 2026 approved. Additional funds, those funds are to support recreation services and our supportive services. Once those funds are approved, which in this case it's $170,000, I work with our team to identify how and where those funds are allocated. It's not down the middle, recreation, other half supportive services. We go off of the trends that we see. This past year, we spent an additional, somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, like an additional $15,000. At the top of my head, I feel like that's what's jumping out. $15,000 on scholarship funds for our participants. So we just take a look at those trends, what the needs are, what we're seeing. As I mentioned, we're seeing a lot more people come into our facility and registering for our programs. And we want to make sure those funds are available to support both needs, or the supportive services needs or the recreation services needs. So we have those funds approved. We're very excited what we'll be able to do with those funds to help support.
So what was the budget? What's the final budget for next year?
$170,000
I'm sorry. What the total budget for the Friends?
for us.
No,
specifically,
just the total Friends budget.
The Friends budget, about 200. No, you mean what they have in the bank that's investing, or what they spend it here?
Yeah, total.
Right now they've got 2.9 million.
I'm sorry?
2.9 million.
So that's just about the same as it was before.
After they spent the money on
Was
the
it 200 or 400,000 you spent on the vans?
200.
Around
229.
229. Thank you.
200. Yeah,
229,000.
some of the documents say 400.
Well, there's 200 on the vans, 229. There was 202, I think, on the upgrades that are going
Yeah,
on now.
technology
A
upgrade.
little over 400,000 in about a year and a half.
All right, but that's for this stuff, right?
202,000 for this.
Yes.
So, and the Friends, that's an exceptional amount of money.
Yeah,
But they also do about $200,000 to support programs here.
right.
Yeah. So that's where the 400,000 came from.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't quite jive with.
And
what-
the
Scholarships are over
Yeah.
300 scholarships that were given last year. So, and we're going to continue that.
Absolutely, and so that's why we don't just divide those funds down the middle, supportive services, recreation services. We look at what the needs are, what those trends are. It allows us to be flexible with those funds. Once we're seeing those increases in scholarships, we don't have to turn anybody away. We're in a position where we don't say, well, we're out of funds to support that need and that service. So we're just very, very proud and happy with our partnership with the Friends and the opportunities that it provides for our participants who would not get to register for those programs otherwise.
So your revenue from fundraising and contributions pretty much offset everything you spent last year.
And our investment
Our
funds.
Investments.
And investment income.
That's the majority of the money
Yeah.
that comes up.
We're working on that.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things you might starting to notice is that we have more Friends showing up at our meetings. And there's growing relationship, and the Friends are also taking a real interesting turn under Karen's leadership and the group together. They just completed training on fundraising and how to do more to actively participate in raising funds beyond just the investment income. So there's a growing collaboration and a growing need or desire to see that the donations increase, other than just bequests. So
You're going to
good things are
hearing
happening.
more about
Absolutely.
us
yes,
Right.
all the way around.
yep.
And so with those, with that approved budget, so we have $170,000 to operate for operational funds, basically. It's just additional operational funds, and so for our services specifically. But additionally, in the 2026 budget is the 200,000 that was discussed. 200,000 for new technology in our facility. So that's why we have our stand-up projector right now. We are in the process of getting the equipment set up in this room. We have everything ready to go. If we want, after this board meeting, we can take a tour in room B or room A, D&E. D&E has a nice, big, huge one, biggest one because it's our presentation room. And so that way, and so what does that do? That just provides better experience. You saw the tech issues that we had, even setting up for our presenter. Not only do we have those issues, the equipment itself is dying, and it's very, very expensive to replace. The bulb alone is, what was it, like $500? Yeah, the bulb alone is like $500 to replace. And so, which is wild, right? Especially for dying technology. And so it allows us to do the same features, same opportunities, but each smartboard will basically work as its own computer. It will be a touchscreen feature. So those presentations, our presenter would be able to Bluetooth in from her own computer versus trying to set everything up and then plug into the wall. Or there'll be an HDMI cord that they can plug into their computer as well. Same feature that we have. Each room will have, each smartboard will have its own camera feature as well, an opportunity for our programs or presenters to do hybrid meetings, programs. With it being a touch screen, it'll again mention it works as its own computer. So that way, if I was doing a presentation and I didn't bring my laptop, I can just log into everything from the screen itself. Again, touch screen, I'd be able to log into the screen itself, pull up my presentation, or if I wanted videos for my presentation, I can go to YouTube in real time and display it. New audio for every single classroom as well. So we have that visual enhancement, but also the audio enhancement as well. Only 2 of our classrooms, well, D&E, well, always one classroom, D&E, and A are the only ones that have speakers set up. The other classrooms do not. So we were originally looking at updated audio speakers for our smaller rooms B and G, but because they're smaller spaces, the audio that comes from the device itself is
It's good.
It's much
better.
Yeah, exactly. It is good.
So,
And so it's an opportunity for our participants, doesn't matter where they're sitting in the rooms, to be able to hear what's being displayed on the board. Yeah.
Can I suggest that somewhere down the road, I know that right now the staff needs to be trained and all that sort of thing, that maybe you have some sort of training
Yeah.
session?
That's on our radar.
Oh.
Absolutely. So as mentioned, Donna mentioned, our staff is in the process, as we speak actually, to schedule time with the installation company, CCS, to do a training. So that way we can train our participants and we can train our group facilitators. But really it's the same as this. It's really all it is. It's just on a giant screen. So
Would be comforting to.
oh yeah, we will show
To be
everybody.
assured.
But
We
that's,
teach a class.
but that's
Yeah,
but
we
really
teach
in a
a class.
nutshell, that's how simple it is.
Yeah.
It's just we're taking the capabilities of our laptop and putting it on a giant screen. But of course, we'll show everybody how to use that giant screen. Really excited about it, and they already have B, G, D, and E, and now they're working on our 2 remaining classrooms, and then I always call them our digital boards. I always call our digital boards. They're updating replacing and adding a couple of digital boards as well.
Right, just one
So-
thing, the gym.
Gymnasium, that technology is on point. And so they took a look at everything and they said, there's nothing more that we could do than what it already has.
Oh.
The only addition is, if you've been to any of our programs or CEPs in the gymnasium, if we are using the screen, we'll set up the seating arrangements to face that screen. But if you've been to some of our other programs, we'll have a stage set up over here and set up the chairs going, would that be north, in north direction. If that's the case, the speakers are geared for the presentation screen, which is over there. So what we added was some audio speakers that can Bluetooth from this point of the room as well. So that way, if we have to use that setup. If you're in the back of the room over here, you're able to hear everything as if you were sitting up front.
Okay.
So that is the one enhancement for the gymnasium.
Another quick question. Those smart boards, if somebody is writing on it, I assume everything is captured, could be printed or stored.
I'm assuming also. Haven't gotten there yet. I was able to toy with it. In exploring, just playing around with it, I was able to take what is on my computer screen, which is a really cool feature too as well. Is if I had a presentation, I can have my screen up in real time and being able to toggle through the different slides, but also be able to use and write in real time as well. So if there was something on that screen that I wanted to circle, make note of, write notes about for the presentation, I could do that as well. Is there an opportunity to screenshot? I have to look into that. I don't know that piece yet. It's that new that I just was able to sneak in and play with it when they were gone. I had to wait till they were gone so I could go in there and play with it. But it's exciting, and like I said, it's very easy to navigate. And so, but yeah, just working with friends to wrap that up. Again, CCS is moving very, very quickly. Bianca's been great support in getting them scheduled in our facility and give them this time and space they need to do what they need to do. And it's been a big lift. So thank you, Bianca. And we're just as excited to see what there's not to see to provide those enhancements for our participants.
Okay. Thank you. Matthew, do you have anything else you'd like to?
I do actually.
I'm not surprised.
One of the few things I was going to specifically bring that's relevant to this board on process. So last night City Council also had a discussion on updating and a decision on updating the board and commission interview process. And so wanted to just let folks know what to expect. Since all of you have gone through that, or everyone who's on the board has gone through that. So let me just pull up my notes on this briefly. I will focus mostly on the key changes so that folks can understand that, but if you have a question on what the whole process looks like, please do ask and I can walk through that. But since most of you have either been through it personally or helped interview people, I won't spend a ton of time going through the whole process unless you have questions there. The key kind of decision, like the key rationale for going through this update is sometimes City Council, kind of with a new council, will go through a refresher anyway for what the process is. Sometimes there are modernizations in process or technology that can kind of help. A great example of going through COVID to think about virtual interviews and kind of retaining that after mostly. So the key goals I think that council members are keeping in mind was optimizing for clarity, efficiency, input, and accountability in the process. The key changes were that boards will continue to interview candidates, but the City Council liaison, hello folks, for each board will join the nominating and interviewing committee for those specific interviews. Boards will then make recommendations to City Council, as they currently do. City Council will then not interview the recommended candidates. The interviews will be solely conducted by the board with the staff liaison and the City Council liaison. And the City Council will be provided with the recorded interviews from the whole process that each board goes through, plus the board's recommendation, plus any insights from each council liaison who was part of that interview process too. And then ultimately we'll continue to vote in public on what candidates we want to appoint to each board. This really takes out a major part of, it doesn't necessarily reduce workload for City Council members, but it does take out one whole part of the process, which is scheduling a full interview day really of all of the recommendations from all the boards and commissions. And it basically pushes each of the City Council members to focus on the boards that they are the liaison to, and empowers each of the boards to continue running their process with just a little bit of additional City Council kind of presence and oversight there. There was no issue with Senior Citizens Advisory Board, but we did have a couple issues where there was some procedural things that weren't as consistent or were suboptimal in some of the recent proceedings. So this clarifies that and hopefully refines it without taking away board input or board empowerment. The last thing I'll just note, there was a clarification made to the process as well that no member no reapplying member or current board member can be part of that interview process. Can be part of the interviewing, decision-making, or selection process. That should have gone without saying before. In most cases it did, in some cases it was not. So that was mostly just a clarification that shouldn't change much of how this board operates or most boards. So that was just a clarification on kind of what's expected there. I don't know if you got the memo yet that we
I have not.
changed
Yeah,
that,
so-
but we finished that discussion around 11:15 last night, so exactly 12 hours ago.
I'm
Yeah.
still waking up. The question I have for you is: were they, in that conversation, were they able to identify the application window for current vacant seats? This board has 2 vacant seats.
The next application window, I believe, is scheduled for mid-March.
It is March.
Is it
Okay.
when it'll open up? I don't know the exact date. I had that, but the clerk's office would be
Oh,
the best one. to
And
get
so
to.
it didn't. Just want to make sure that didn't change.
We didn't change any dates in the process there.
Okay.
We were updating our rules and procedures, which largely focused on the procedures that the council and boards follow
Okay. Awesome.
there.
So we'll still move it to March.
And then just to clarify, if you're a new member, typically each board will kind of down select to like a little bit of a nominating committee or interviewing committee. So it's not the full board that has to be scheduled in for all of the interviews. So that continues to be in place. That it's board's discretion on how you want to handle that. City council liaison will just be part of those conversations there. So hope you like me.
So the final decision does go to city council though?
Final decision is still at city council
Okay.
because you all are our advisory board members. All boards and commissions are still, all the members are still decided by city council. The only main process change there is that city council is not going to interview each recommendation. We will take the recommendations, we have the written applications that everyone submits, and each city council liaison for the boards or commissions will be able to provide a window into, like, visibility into each of those interviews if there's anything that stood out, or any strengths or weaknesses that were worth highlighting.
Good. The other reports, you've got copies of them. I normally take everybody on the board have a chance to talk about their limited, but I actually want to turn it over to Dave because you've got the newest group.
Okay.
I'd like to just chat about that for a few minutes.
You want to talk? You want me to talk, Don?
Yep. And the board advocacy, what you were able to do. While I was doing that, I want to check and see who's going to be at the food table this month. Who'll be volunteering? 1, 2, 3.
I can help, but I can't lift. But I can help.
Great. Okay, I think that's everybody, right? Yes. Good. Thank you. I'll let Eric know to let Amy know to let Naomi know.
I don't think I'm available for this next one.
Thank you. It'd be wonderful to see city
I'm not-
council members
I'm
there.
not in town for that one.
I don't think Sean McCoy's there because I think he's doing coffee with council that day.
That's on the 14th?
Yes,
It's on the same day as ours.
I think so. Isn't it in the
I
city?
thought they were more like
Coffee with
later in the
council?
month.
No, that's the following week. That's
Okay.
the 21st. Yeah,
Yeah,
council
they're
members
always
McCoy and
like
Marson will do a
30.
coffee with council on the 21st at the Ascent.
Because nobody moves the line better than Marta and Sean McCoy.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Come on. Marta's moving along, and Sean McCoy is making sure they take exactly what they need, whether they really need it or not. But it's quite humorous to watch that line move through. Dave?
Okay. I feel like this is a job interview. 13 people.
No pressure. Like no pressure.
No pressure.
Not much.
I went to the first council with coffee with the council that I've ever been to. And I will say that I plan to go on all of them, to all of them over the next several months. And if I don't go, for some reason, I'll send an email out and make sure that somebody is there from the board. Of course, anybody from the board can go anyway, you know. But I'm just saying I want to make sure that there's always somebody there representing the board, and I do plan on being to everyone unless something comes up. Did you folks get a copy of about my notes of the coffee with the council? Okay.
No.
No.
I don't
It's
really
okay.
have time to go through all of this, but Susie and Crystal were there from the council, and there was about 15, 20 people there, and it was a lot more active than I anticipated. I did, to tell the truth, what I was expecting was about 3 or 4 people, and kind of sleepy to tell the truth, but it wasn't that way at all. A couple of people brought up housing development, and they talked about that quite a bit. I do think there was a realtor, and I think there was a developer there. And so they just asked general questions. It wasn't contentious at all, but they were just trying to get an idea of what was coming down the pike. Given what you said a while ago about security and our discussion about security, somebody brought up ICE. And I tell you, the reaction of the group was uniformly hostile, I would have to say, to the whole idea of ICE. And then I mentioned a situation we had in our neighborhood. I don't know whether it actually happened or not, but somebody said they thought they saw an ICE person in our neighborhood that was parked in the neighborhood for a while. And so that sparked quite a bit of discussion. To make a long story short, what Howard said was, and I think he was talking about not so much agencies, what you do, but what we do as private citizens is if you have an issue that you think involves ICE or some of your folks in your neighborhood, call the Colorado Rapid Response Network. And Harold, yes, and you mentioned that earlier. Harold was very strong about that. He felt that don't call the police. We don't really want to be involved. Just make sure you call the Colorado Rapid Response. I introduced myself as a member of the Senior Advisory Board, and I'll do the same thing every time I'm there, just to make sure that we're visible, that they know that we're listening. Excuse me. And I talked about the food table, and they knew all about the food table, so words got around on that. They're all very aware pretty much of the senior center and the senior board as far as that goes. And so I was real pleased with that. I did ask, what I was really trying to get at was what kind of feedback would you like from the board, because we've made recommendations to the city council over the last 3 years. And we made our presentation last year, and each year we've gotten some response. But what they said they liked best were presentations. They said they loved presentations. So I guess that tells, of course that's just 2 council members, but I think that tells me that we really need all the bells and whistles that we can, to do as good a presentation as we can. So that's the kind of input that they wanted. Then the last thing I wanted to mention is that, as you recall, part of what I wanted to do was to speak to all of the council members and Howard and the deputy city manager and maybe some others, I don't know. But the idea being to relay our concerns to the city council on a one-on-one basis, just to make sure they understand who we are, what we do, what we've done, that sort of thing. And I asked myself, if I was going to do that tomorrow, what would I say? And I'm not quite sure. And I think what I need is a little more information. I'm looking forward to the information you're putting forward together on the annual report. That's going to be very helpful to talk about the activities that we've been involved with. And I think feedback from the outreach committee is going to be very helpful too.
Sure.
So putting those 2 things together, I think I can articulate a little bit better in a month than I can today as to just what is it that we want for the seniors as a board. So that's about it.
Great. Thank you. So more input about what you'd like for going to future open discussion, what you'd like to see for, again, people that come do presentations, but also things you'd like to see us begin to do with the various committees, food table, advocacy, outreach. What I'm enjoying is seeing the participation of the board increasing around those issues, so keep up the good work. Anything else you'd like to discuss? About, do we adjourn the meeting and then do this? This is still part of the ongoing meeting, right? The outreach?
Part of the ongoing meeting.
Okay.
It
So,
stays open, the
Yep.
meeting stays open, right? Okay.
Yeah. So we
You're
just
up.
need
Why don't we take a 5-minute break?
to try out the
Wanna do
chairs.
that?
try and
Yeah.
figure
Oh,
it out, yeah.
exactly,
Great
everybody
Some-
wanna try out?
We can vote
Yeah.
on a recommendation.
Okay, let's go ahead and start outreach. Did everybody get a chance to look at the material? I know you guys did.
You're on.
Yeah, I think it's a good
You guys would
idea.
like to
I missed
write
that.
down your email addresses? I'll make sure I send you any information I send out to outreach. Okay? I probably have them, but I'm not sure. And the last time I got a bunch of email addresses.
Mark,
and
anything more on the
apparently
Spanish
people who-
programs?
The
Guess you'd like to
addressees
add in there if you
didn't know
make a note of
that
that.
they were gonna be getting information, they kind of wondered.
Just take a
when they
look,
get this stuff.
take a look, whatever you want to expand that to, let us
But
know.
yeah, give me any email address.
Anybody who didn't get an
Of anybody
opportunity to
who's
read this, and I'm gonna get you guys a copy of it, so you can.
So you know the outreach committee is always gonna follow the regular board
Anybody who
meeting.
didn't get an opportunity, let's not wait till the next meeting. Let's go
Outreach
ahead and
committee's
tell
goal
me
is to
what,
increase
when you get the chance to do it.
awareness
Shoot
of the
me
senior center and what
any
is available
additions or
to all
corrections,
of
so
us.
that by the next meeting,
We will,
what we
have
will do is we'll
everybody
put together
a chance
a
to
general voice their opinion and make a
talking
recommendation.
points
Okay?
of what you can talk about, should you be the one that's going to speak in front of a group, a meeting, anything like that. This will help you feel
John
like
did
you
it,
have
and then I
support when
updated
you're
it.
getting up to talk. That you have an idea of what to say, and it'll keep
No, that
things
was
more
it.
consistent. It'll keep
Maybe
things more
print smaller to get it on
factual.
2 pages.
If we all follow the basic talking points of what's gonna be presented, okay? So I did put out, I did send out a copy of the one John was nice enough to go ahead and write the original draft. So I did send it out to everybody. Why don't we
and
go
again,
around and see if-
oh, wait,
what
Dave.
everybody thinks of what was in the original draft. Why don't you start?
One of my notes to myself was keep it to 15 minutes in our presentation. And I still think.
All right,
that
did you get a
anything
chance to
more
look
than
at it?
that's kinda, This is so much information.
Yeah.
My God, you could talk
Go ahead.
So
hours about.
I thought it was, overall, I thought it was really good. I just had a couple questions. One was,
It's a tough one, you know?
since this flows into 2 pages, will we
Oh,
look
and I
to
had a
have
question about Rotary.
this to be a handout?
Did you mean all the
Is this
service lines or just Rotary?
ultimately
no.
we give somebody,
If you,
or is
did you
this
see
something
the
that
list
we
I included
I did not.
of all the groups?
and
Yeah, but I didn't see the other
use this
service groups.
as our talking points?
Well, there
That's what we
was
were
Kiwanis
looking
in
at,
there.
is
Okay,
having it for
okay.
the
My
speakers
printer
to run through the information
Okay.
of what they want.
And there's a couple of
But we
Rotaries.
also
There's
plan on
Twin
doing
Peaks,
it.
Longmont,
Yeah,
and there's
I
another
want
one.
people to have the information at
I
first.
guess,
As they get more comfortable with it and getting up and they know more about what they're gonna say, we
I
can
guess
continue to shrink
I
that
would
down. So it
suggest
literally
that since,
becomes just
you know, if you
bullet
try to do it in 15 minutes, that
to
can go
remind
so
people what
fast.
to say when they're up in front of a group.
That you have the bullet
Because
points,
this-
of course,
This really
and
packs
you
a lot
have
of
the information there
Right.
for everybody.
into it, right?
But some
And so
examples.
if we've got, I view this is great for a presentation to a group,
How
but this is not what I would consider like.
It seems to me that always.
Right,
You're right,
exactly.
on the street.
You do
Hang on a second,
something
let me
from
grab my-
personal experience.
So if we had a card or something like
I
that.
think that'll maintain interest a little bit better.
You mean as far as
Otherwise,
the handout?
it's gonna be.
Yeah, Ronnie
I
said
guess
he's
what I'm
gonna
saying,
have a
some bullet
flyer
points
ready.
for the high
Like
points,
April.
because we'll never get over all of it.
Right,
What we're gonna do. Here's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to gather as much information as we could
Yeah.
to make it factual,
Yeah.
to make it clear.
And maybe
And
some
that way
of the
people can be
statistics
looking at it while you're
Ronnie's coming
speaking,
up
they can take it
soon.
with them.
So
You'll
you're
also
saying
have
it's long,
contact
but you want to add
information on
another.
it, so
Yeah.
if anybody else wants to get further information.
I like numbers.
They'll have it. Great.
But I think, you know, some examples and some hard-hitting
Taking
statistics.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
oh, yeah.
it's always good. I think that usually works.
Anything else?
The other thing I would
Where
suggest
did I
is,
spell your name wrong?
Oh, that was in the,
third paragraph there that was describing about the advisory
Email.
law. I would just say, why not just use the,
somewhere in the email said,
you know,
John is,
the ordinance language?
John Pittman.
Or paraphrase the ordinance, because this is not quite the same thing as what the
I
ordinance
think it's the
says.
outreach committee, yeah. it is.
Okay. Is it inaccurate?
Committee report.
This is good as far as it goes, but it doesn't, it doesn't include everything that the ordinance says.
All right, let me take a look
I
at
guess
it.
what I'm suggesting is maybe take the ordinance, compare it to this and see if there's anything else.
The other thing I was gonna ask you
I can
is,
do that.
since I do work on, obviously, the SCT's, the computer technology piece
Right.
of this,
Okay?
can I,
And
if I wanna broaden that a little bit, or scope a little
again,
bit?
what I want to do is make sure anybody who's getting up
I
to
don't know
speak,
yet,
if you're
but
concerned that
is it
you
still
don't think you
something
have
that I
enough
can do? That's it.
information, or you don't
Hey, I wanna
know
add
what
a
to
couple of
say,
things on the
you're going to have a lot to pick from.
Or do you wanna-
Yeah, and then you
No, that's what
personally
this is
can
for.
pick
We
what
wanted
you
everybody
want
to
to
get an
say.
opportunity to look
Oftentimes
at the
that-
first draft
That gets
and make any
done by
additions,
the group that you're
corrections,
speaking
any
to.
thoughts on
You know,
what
what
would
do you
would
think
be
they would
helpful.
feel? What
Because
do you think they
ultimately,
would
we
like
want
to
to
hear?
have a
Um,
piece of
That's
paper
a
that's
really good
helpful
point.
to
You got that
anybody who
framework
gets up and
hit
speaks.
for everybody.
And
Right.
Each person can tailor it
We want
to
it
the
to be
group and how you
comprehensive.
feel.
Hopefully it'll keep
Right.
getting shorter,
Everybody
but we
can put
really
in their
want
own
it to be
experiences.
comprehensive.
Other
And so-
experience that they know people have had.
It says
If we
Apple
had a
and
few
Macs, that's the same
statistics
thing.
to toss in there for the
would you
numbers
like
people.
Apple and.
You know, we just want to have a great amount of information, not a great amount, but a nice amount of information.
Computer technology, the
It's
very last one, it says.
factual. That's my concern, is that we're all saying the same thing.
More for Apple.
We're all quoting the same things.
So
We're all
doesn't-
talking
somebody
about the
looking at this
same.
isn't gonna get the idea
And then
of
you
what
as an
I know.
individual, as you're speaking, would choose what
Or
we're
you would
going to
just simply
say.
add Apple.
And when I
Macs.
said about making it extemporaneous, that simply means that you practice the information, but you didn't have to go ahead and
You guys didn't see it?
John, memorize it.
Objective,
You know, you don't have to say the same exact thing every time. You just know
different areas.
your general information, your framework, and then you decide what you're gonna say
Eventually,
each
boil it
meeting.
down to having some very
depending
short
upon who you're
talking
speaking to.
points. So, for example, Ronnie and I.
Does that make sense for everybody?
What do you mean when you say
Mid-month.
depend upon?
Yeah, I want to be able to have some specifics to talk about.
You're speaking at the Rotary?
I mean, it could change from,
Around
you
the
know,
elder
group to
exchange.
group.
What,
Say you're
Oh,
speaking
okay.
to
What
senior
group? Which
citizens in a
Rotary?
residential community. You
So
may
it's just-
target certain
that's gotta be-
things
that's
more
I think the
because
idea with the outreach.
that's
is
what you
pick
think
a
that
group.
they'd be
What would
interested
they- What would they
in.
like to hear about?
Say
Maybe
you're
it's
going out into the
SCTC,
community
maybe
and talking about a
whatever
group
it
that
takes.
is
So if
not
there's things
just
that are
senior
missing,
citizens, but is
groups
like
that
the
you'd like to
Rotary
have
or
addressed,
something like that.
add that
You
to
always
it.
want to emphasize, and I want to make sure, I'm going to write this on the new edition, or the new
That might
draft.
make better sense.
You always want to
Yeah,
emphasize it's
maybe
55 and
SCTC.
older.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
that-
what we want to
go
let
back
people
to
know, is
two
that
things. One
it's
is,
55 and older, and yes, services are available
That's
for
right.
everybody, whoever needs it. But there's also plenty of other things that are available
Probably just replace
for
iPhone
anybody
with
who's
smartphone.
55 and older.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay?
Maybe.
Because we really want to let people know that,
One of these.
you know, senior
so
doesn't mean.
smartphone.
Okay, any info is helpful.
And then the other thing
Senior
is,
just means
after computer technology,
or
put
enjoy
in brackets. Because that's how it's referred to, I think, in the magazine.
Speak for yourself.
Come
That's
on,
why we're
Dave.
doing this, because everybody can. do their
Anything
own
else anybody
what
has
they see
any
as being clear.
comments on, thoughts
Yeah, I got one
on?
other thing.
What's that? John, anything else?
I do think that this is a really good opportunity to get input.
Would feel comfortable.
Now, most of this is
If you would, or
output
somebody
to
else would, so just
the group.
add it, send it to Laura.
And I think we need a specific
Or take.
Yeah, this will be
bullet point or
continual for a
whatever
little while.
that
This will be a
asks
little
for-
fluid for a little while.
phrase it somehow, so
You know, until we get to the point where you're really
trying to
feel like
get
we've wrapped it up well.
information as to what are the needs in the community.
Peer council.
Because we know there are needs of specific groups.
I don't know.
I'll say veterans, for example.
Is it mentioned at all?
This time it's me.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I just,
Peer counseling is under health and wellness. Sounds like you're selling
Anyway.
ice cream.
Um, Just to make sure that is covered.
Mark, can I get more
Because
Spanish
it's
program?
very easy just to think, well, there's so much stuff
I
in
haven't
senior
read it
center, just tell them about it.
Just take a look.
And forget
Whatever you
to
want to
switch
expand it to,
gears
let us know.
into, well, there's some needs here of
Anybody
some
who
groups,
didn't get an
some
opportunity to
individuals,
read this, and I'm
are
gonna
not
get
being
you
met.
guys a copy
And
of
the
this.
senior center might be a place where we could address them. And I think that has to
Anybody
be
who didn't get an
consistent across
opportunity,
all of
let's
the
not wait till the next meeting. Let's go ahead and
That's a
tell
good
me,
idea. It could be the
when
last
you get a
thing.
chance to do it.
Put it
shoot
out
me,
to everybody. Does anybody have any
additions or
recommendations?
corrections, so that
on
by
things
the
that
next
we
meeting,
we need
we
in the
will
senior
have
center?
everybody a chance to voice their opinion and make recommendations.
Resources
Okay.
that they can.
So you,
Right, and
cut
that's
yourself
another
or
point.
You yourself did all this.
One of the nice things available at the
the
senior center is.
John did it,
you know,
and then I
you can be
updated
referred to resources outside of the group.
Is this page,
Yes.
I think you need to say that people can,
No,
you know, I mean, if they have to go, that explains it, but if you make a presentation that they can attend the activities, it ends low or no cost. It cuts off after management minutes says period.
Okay, hang on one second.
Doesn't continue. And also, I have a friend.
I see, it's an additional.
okay, and
I
again,
think people are trying
oh,
to
wait, Dave,
come.
go ahead.
And I think the other thing is that sometimes it's a younger person encouraging.
One of my notes to myself was, keep it to 15 minutes, you know, a
They're adult,
presentation.
elder, maybe.
And I still think that anything
But
more
I
than
think
that.
they want their senior
You know,
grandparents or
like
parents to
this
be
is so
involved.
much information. My God, you could talk, you know, for hours about
What do you
this
think of
stuff,
this
so,
idea? One thing the outreach committee can offer is a
It's a
specific
tough one, you know.
date, a
But-
time and a date, that if anybody
Well, I
wants
had
to
a
come and
question
see
about
what the
Rotary.
senior center is all
Did you
about.
mean all the services?
We'll have an
or
open
just Rotary?
house.
I don't know.
Not exactly
Did you
an
see
open
the
house,
list
but
I
like
included?
I did
yeah,
not.
Of all the
an
groups?
orientation,
Yeah, but
a little
I didn't see any
information
other
meeting
service groups.
for 2 hours.
Well,
on
there
a
was
middle of the
Kiwanis in
day.
there, there
Okay,
was,
okay.
And have it
Elvis
available
is
so
still
that people
cut it
can
off,
stop
so
by
that's
and see
probably-
what's going
Okay.
on.
Okay.
tour, we
And there's a
talked
couple of
about
Rotaries,
programs, there's
things
Twin
like that.
Peaks, there's Longmont Rotary,
Yeah.
and there's a Nibok Rotary.
Yeah.
In the magazine,
I
I
guess-
have a thing like that, that you,
I didn't see it.
That's
get
okay.
acquainted,
Um,
yeah.
I guess
okay.
I would suggest.
Don't we have somebody on the
If you
board?
Help
try
promote
to
that.
do it for 15 seconds,
Jake.
kind of like-
After.
Yeah, you have a board member
you
calling
have the
after
bullet
just to
points,
follow
of
up with
course.
them.
And you have the information there for everybody. But some examples.
Follow-up phone calls.
Where we've done that in the past.
So we have a getting acquainted, it provides that opportunity.
Seems to me that
If anybody's
always
interested in
looks
just
really
learning more about the
like
senior center,
some
they,
sort of
they
personal
show
experience that
up.
people- I think they
Brandy
maintain
and
interest,
Ryan tag team that one,
better.
and they'll
Otherwise,
provide that
you know,
information,
it's gonna
supportive
be-
services, resources, what's available.
I guess what I'm saying is the bullet points for the high points,
Services,
because
what
they'll never get
opportunities
over all of
exist,
it.
in our
Right.
facility and outside of our facility.
Here's what I wanted to do.
Give them a
Yeah.
tour.
I wanted to
just
gather
talk
as
through all
much
those things.
information as we could
So Dave's always
to
been
make
our
it
follow-up,
factual,
Yeah.
to make it
after those,
clear.
we give him the
Maybe
roster,
some of
he'll
the-
follow up on those phone calls.
The zoning is coming out.
I did some of those.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's long, but you want to add more info?
They take their name.
I like numbers.
Oh, yeah.
But I
we
think,
also
you know, some
recommend, like,
examples and some
They don't like
hard-hitting
what we
play with that.
statistics.
Yeah, they don't like do it ad hoc, do they?
I wish we had that
It's always
availability.
good, I think.
If
We have our
somebody-
volunteers though.
Yeah.
Yes, we have our
Yes.
volunteers.
The other thing.
Yeah, the
So-
volunteer desk, they will take people on tours.
30
And I know that
paragraphs
also we have been known to
describing
take people on
advisory board.
tours
I would
if we,
just say,
like,
Oh,
why not just
done it
use the,
several times.
We're almost out of time, so.
So we don't really have to reinvent the wheel with a separate meeting, we can just promote what's already in the go. Good.
And the volunteers.
Is it inaccurate?
This is good as far as it goes, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't include everything that the ordinance says.
All right, let me take a look at
I guess
it.
what I'm suggesting is maybe
Because
take the ordinance,
if
compare it
April-
to this and see if there's anything missing.
Right, I can do that.
Okay?
I would think the
And
volunteers here and you know.
again, what I want to do is make sure anybody who's getting
Okay,
up
so
to
what I'll do
speed,
is I'll
you're
wrap up
concerned
all
that
this
you don't think you have
Yeah.
enough
Any additions,
information, or
corrections,
you don't
anything
know
else
what to
that
say,
needs to be
you're going to have a lot.
And I will put this out before the next
And then
meeting,
you
so
personally
people have
can
a chance
pick
to read it,
what you want to
and make
say.
any additional
Oftentimes
comments.
that
I'd like to get
gets
moving
done
along.
by the group that you're
And also,
speaking to.
let's talk
You know,
about
what do
at
you
the
think
next
they would
meeting,
feel?
who has
Because they would
contacts
like
in the
to
various
do that.
groups that I
Um,
That-
made
That's a
last
really
go.
good point.
That's
Yeah,
gonna
that
be
first
kind of our general information. Everybody hang on to that.
Tailor it to the group
Because
and
it
how
gives an
you
idea
feel.
of what groups we can contact.
Right.
And ask to Everybody can put in their own experiences, other experience that they know people have had. If we had a few continue to use that with that for the number of people. You know, we just want to have a great amount of information,
Just
not a
make
great
sure you
amount, but a
email me
nice amount
everything,
of
don't tell
information.
me or don't write a
That's
note or anything like
factual.
that.
That's my
Email it
concern,
so I
is that
have
we're
it
all
all
saying the same
collected
thing.
in the same area.
We're all quoting the same things. We're all talking about the same things. And then you as an individual, as you're speaking.
Oh, absolutely.
And when I said about making it extemporaneous,
So there
that
are
simply
other,
means that you practice
churches
the information, but you didn't have to go ahead and,
magazines that you could potentially set aside to.
Well, if you do, when you get
Memorize.
an opportunity
you
to
don't have
look
to
at
say
that
the
list,
same
if you have
exact
any
thing every
additions,
time.
just
You
let me
just
know.
know
Okay?
your
All right.
general
Anything else?
information, your framework,
Okay.
and then you
Motion to
decide what
adjourn.
you're gonna say at each meeting.
Thank you.
Pending
Second.
copy of your speech.
Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you all very much for your participation.
I have a petition.
Johnson.
It could change from, group to group. Say you're speaking to senior citizens at a residential community. You may target certain things more because that's what you think that they'd be interested in hearing. Say you're going out into the community and talking about a group that is not just senior citizens, but is like the Rotary or something like that. You always want to emphasize, and I want to make sure, I'm going to write this on the new edition or the new draft. You always want to emphasize it's 55 and older. That's really what we want to let people know, is that it's 55 and older, and yes, services are available for everybody, whoever needs it. But there's also plenty of other things that are available for anybody who's 55 and older. Okay? Because we really want to let people know that, senior doesn't mean old. Senior just means we're enjoying ourselves. Okay?
Speak for yourself.
Come on, Dave. Anything else anybody has any comments on, thoughts
Yeah, I got one
on?
other thing.
What's that?
I do think that this is a really good opportunity to get input. Most of this is output to the group. And I think we need a specific bullet point or whatever that asks for, phrase it somehow, so you're trying to get information as to what are the needs in the community. Because we know there are needs of specific groups. I'll say veterans, for example.
Okay.
This time it's me.
Sounds like you're selling
Anyway.
ice cream.
Just to make sure that is covered,
Yeah.
because it's very easy just to think, well, we got so much stuff at the senior center, just tell them about it. And forget to switch gears into, are there some needs here of some groups or some individuals that are not being met? And the senior center might be a place where we could address them. And I think that has to be consistent across all of the presentations, or we're going to let it go.
I think that's a good idea. It could be the last thing. People put it out to everybody. Does
Yeah.
anybody have any recommendations
After they
on
have a
things
chance
you
to think
feel
about it.
we need at the senior center?
You're saying that if the senior doesn't have it, the senior will always know the resources that they can.
Right, and that's another point.
Can I add
One of the nice things available at the senior center is that we can, you can be referred to resources outside of the group.
I think
Yes.
maybe you need to say that people can, if they have the good book, that explains it, but if you're making a presentation, that they can attend the activities for low or no cost if that's an issue. I don't think that's in your talking points there.
Okay, hang on one second. For resources outside.
And also, I have a friend who's thought about coming here for a long time, and she's like, I just don't want to walk in there by myself. And I think people are kind of afraid to come.
And, and I think the other thing is that sometimes it's a younger person encouraging an older person to come, like their child, their adult child, or maybe their grandchild, I don't know. But I think they want their senior grandparents or parents to be involved, and they don't know how to necessarily encourage them to come.
What do you think of this idea? One thing the outreach committee can offer is a specific date, a time and a date, that if anybody wants to come and see what the senior center is all about, we will have an open house, not exactly an open house, but like an orientation, a little information meeting for 2 hours on a middle of the day, and have it available so that people can stop by and see what's going on. We give a tour, we talk about programs, things like that.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna add, in the Go magazine, they have a thing like that you might could actually.
Get acquainted?
Yeah, get acquainted.
Oh, okay.
Would you get
You could help promote that.
It's already said.
Calls after.
Yeah. You have a board member call.
People have to register.
Usually made those calls. The getting acquainted follow-up phone calls.
Yeah, we've done that in the past.
So we have getting acquainted. It provides that opportunity. If anybody's interested in just learning more about the senior center, they show up. Brandy and Ryan tag team that one, and they'll provide that information, supportive services, resources, what's available, services they provide, recreation services, what opportunities exist in our facility and outside of our facility. Give them a tour, and just kind of talk through all of those things. And so Dave's always been our follow-up. After those, we give him the roster. He'll follow up on those phone calls.
I think I did some of those too.
Yeah.
Hey Ryan, when they show up, like if somebody just walks into the front desk, do they take their name and information and then schedule?
Oh yeah, we absolutely recommend
they don't
what we pointed to that.
Yeah, they don't do it ad hoc, do they?
I wish we had that availability.
If
We have our volunteers though.
Yeah.
So we have our volunteer table.
Yeah, the
So-
volunteer desk, they will take people on tours.
They
And I
will.
know that also, we have been known to take people on tours if we, like,
Oh, I've done it several times.
We're almost out of time, so.
So we don't really have to reinvent the wheel with a separate meeting. We can just promote what's already in the go. Good.
And the volunteers have to be sensitive and welcome, not, what are you looking for? Yes, be open, may I help you?
Yes.
Are you lost? Can I help you? Because if they don't do a sort of a welcome, they don't know, they can help them, they can feel,
I would think the volunteers here are aware of that, and, keep that in mind too. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll wrap up all this information, get me any additions, corrections, anything else that you think needs to be done, and I will put this out before the next meeting, so people have a chance to read it, make any additional comments. I'd like to get this moving along. And also, let's talk about at the next meeting, who has contacts in the various groups that I made the list of. That's gonna be kind of our general information. Everybody hang on to that list, because it gives an idea of what groups we can contact and ask to speak to.
so if we have others, then we need to add them to.
Exactly, so we'll continue to use that and add it and everything
Clinic,
else.
which is one that should be, Salud Clinic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just make sure you email me everything. Don't tell me or don't write a note or anything like that. Email it so I have it all collected in the same area and I can be consistent with what's going on.
Yeah, that's a really good point because
I mean, 'cause you
Salud
talk
is
about-
one of,
Right, I'll add
about
Salud.
doctors or whatever, well, Salud.
well,
Clinic.
we drop off Go magazines there, right? So there are other churches,
Yeah.
right, that we drop off Go magazines that we could potentially set up a time to.
Well, if you do, when you get it, an opportunity to look at that list, if you have any additions, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Anything else? Okay, we're finished.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Second.
Okay.
Thank you. You're adjourned. Thank you all very much for your participation.
Who's first?